Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Shel Gross, and I would like to introduce MGR Govindarajan, running for Alder in District 8. As we begin, I'd like to give an opening statement about the educational, vocational, and civic experience you have, which qualifies you for this office and why you are running for Alder.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you, Shel, for having me here. Thank you for interviewing me. Thank you for everyone watching. I'm excited to be here. I'm MGR Govindarajan. I use he, him pronouns, and I am running for District 8 Alder. I am running because I believe that I have a good understanding of what the issues facing my community are. I am a student at UW-Madison. I'm in my third year. And I have spent most of my time lobbying for students and young people in my district and in my campus community. I've done this mostly through my student government, where I've been given the unique role where I'm able to interact with the local government, the state government, and I know that these are the problems facing students, whether it's affordable housing or mental health access or whatever they are. And for the past 2 years, it's been my role to say, get the local government or the state government, or sometimes even the federal government, to support these issues. So that's given me the opportunity to make connections and lobby for these issues in the past. So I have some experience on the legislative side, working on these issues and trying to get people in office to understand these issues as well. And that's given me a very in-depth understanding of the issues as well. Another big thing is that I have lived these experiences. I'm a student myself. So as you might be able to tell by the horrible lighting in this room, I don't have natural light in this window, or I don't have a window with natural light in this apartment because I'm not able to afford any better. So a lot of students feel this problem where they're not able to really afford a really good house because, one, there's a lack of affordable housing, and two, there is generally just a lack of housing in general. And that's a really major problem. So I've lived issues like these, even when it comes to mental health, transportation, other things that I am campaigning on as well. I want to continue the work that I've already done and bring this to the city's level, where I feel like I can make a more impactful change and strongly focus on these issues, which is why I'm running for Alder.
Thank you. What actions or programs would you support to enhance public safety in Madison? And in particular, what is your position on the use of body cameras by Madison police officers?
When it comes to safety, I think, especially with the police department, I really want to focus on alternative forms of policing. I came into Madison, I moved here when the Black Lives Matter movement was taking place. I was able to witness for the first time how people were being impacted by everything occurring at the time. It has been occurring before and since as well. And it was kind of eye-opening for me just coming out of high school from a smaller town into a much bigger city. And I learned a lot. And alternative forms of policing is kind of where I'm at with this. Madison has done that a little bit with the CARES model. And that's one of my primary points that I want to focus on, is expanding the current CARES model, because we have a similar program at the university as well, which I've worked on. And from that side, I know that the mental health staff working on there, the police staff working on there, and the students who have been impacted by the university side of the CARES program, they all love that program. It has positively impacted everyone. And I can assume that that's the same for the CARES program as well. And that takes away police officers in a situation that they are untrained for, and that makes it better for the person calling 911, and it puts the officer in a better situation as well. So I want to focus on alternative forms of policing such as that. And I also want to increase community and civilian oversight of the Madison Police Department. I think when it comes to police safety in general, there are two themes that I mainly am focusing on, and that is transparency and accountability. So when it comes to transparency, I want civilians invested in this process, wherever the process is. And mainly, I want to bring people of color into this process as well, because historically they are a group that have not been easily able to access this process. It is not an easy it's not an easy place to get into as a person of color. And then with accountability, I want to focus on improving any existing and then creating new accountability measures within the City of Madison Police Department as well. And then I believe you asked about body cameras, correct? So yes, with body cameras, I don't have a solid position on this currently. I think my best and honest answer. I think I'm leaning towards a no because I have learned it's an expensive program and there's a lot of racial disparities within it. But my answer would be I'm leaning against it right now.
Thank you. What do you see as the most important environmental issues the city needs to address? What will be your priorities for council action on these issues?
My priorities when it comes to the sustainability and the environment is going to be just having a sustainable attitude wherever we can in any policies. Sustainability is more so always in the background of anything. With BRT, for example, we want to make sure that the buses are electric. We want to make sure that the routes are being as efficiently used and things like that. With the regular existing buses we have, I really want to push for more electric buses. Transportation is really a big one when it comes to sustainability, because I want to push the city of Madison to being more pedestrian and bike friendly. The entire country itself is very car reliant, and I want to get Madison away from that a little bit, because especially downtown, it is actually pretty easy to walk from one place to another until about winter hits. After that happens, people rely heavily on cars and other vehicles that we maybe should not. And speaking of winter, I want to improve more sustainable salting practices as well. And another big one is I see all the time in August, September, when people are moving in and moving out, especially in the downtown area, campus area, we see lots of beds and sofas and like a lot of materials that the community can use just being thrown out and just going into the trash and landfill. I want to really focus on maybe getting together some kind of community program that recycles this throughout the community if people need it and cannot afford it. I think these are very usually new items that are just being thrown out.
What is your position on increasing the pay for alders?
I think I'm leaning towards supporting it. As a student myself, I have just working to raise student wages in the past, especially within like student leadership. I've been typically in support of this because it increases diversity. It brings in new people into the process. As a person of color and a low income student myself, it has made a big impact on me when my campus wage went from $10.50 an hour to $12 an hour, which is still below the wage that I would like the city to be at, or the campus to be at. But it really does make an impact when wages are increased. I saw the Zoom meeting when alders debated on the pay raise a few months ago. And there was this one, I don't remember specifically when in the debate, but there was an alder who said, like, if you cannot afford housing, then maybe you should not be an alder. And this was kind of mind-boggling for me because the whole point of public service, in my opinion, is you know what the problems are. Maybe you've experienced these problems and you should be able to advocate for yourself. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I have the lived experience and I want to be able to advocate for myself and other people as well. I want to bring other people into the process. So I'm leaning towards supporting an increase in alder pay.
What, if anything, do you think the city should be doing to support economic development?
I think really focusing on the local communities and the businesses we have is probably the best way we can help. Providing small loans, increasing funding for our small businesses is a really good way. As a student downtown, it's really shown me the Madison culture, seeing all the Thursday night markets we have or the pop-up shops we have every so often on State Street. And I know that has a big impact on the local business community as well. I would love to increase how frequently that happens, where it happens, different locations possibly, things like that. I also think increasing just like more of those nighttime activities, I believe. That is when a lot of students are currently free to go out and socialize. And a lot of businesses on State Street, sometimes they do close maybe at 8, 9, maybe incentivizing businesses to stay open a bit later, giving students more to do, and helping the business community would be a good way to go about that.
Thank you. How do you see racial disparities impacting constituents in your district? And are there any actions the city should take to address those?
Yes, for sure. I think being a person of color myself, I've definitely felt the racial disparities within Madison. It is a predominantly white community. To be fair, for me specifically, my hometown before Madison with my parents is much more predominantly white than this, so I definitely felt it more there. And Madison is definitely more inclusive and accepting of people of color here. But there are issues that really highlight the disparity, one of which is affordable housing. Like I mentioned earlier, it really determines where people of color or low income individuals live, and sometimes, and a lot of the times, it forces people of color outside of the area. It's forcing people outside of our community. So focusing on affordable housing, ensuring that people can get housing loans or rent assistance, maybe even helping landlords meet ends meet, which ends up helping tenants as well. Improving tenant rights and education would be a really big one. I also know that downtown Madison specifically is not the safest for people of color. So I want to work on that, and it's important to have elders who understand that, who have that kind of experience as well. Wherever I can in the city process, whether it's committees, whether it's open hearings, public comments, whatever it is, I want to bring people of color into the process and make sure they can voice their opinions too.
What are the most critical issues that you see facing the people in your district, and what would you propose to address them?
I mentioned already affordable housing. There's lack of affordable housing, and then a lack of housing itself. It expands everything, or it affects everything, I should say. And to address that, I think the community or the Common Council recently passed, oh shoot, I can't remember what it was called, but basically alongside bus rapid transit, they're increasing or kind of rezoning a few areas basically, and it's increasing the amount of units that can be in a specific area. I think that's a really good way. I want to expand that however possible. Downtown is already a very dense population area. Anywhere we can, I would like to explore that because, again, students are the ones who are really struggling to find affordable housing. And I want to ensure that it is focused in the downtown area. I also want to focus on mental health availabilities and services. The CARES program, like I mentioned earlier, I want to expand that to 24/7, ensuring that there's nighttime access and weekend access as well for the entire community. I really want to focus on transportation, working on pedestrian safety and biker safety. I would also say just generally safety related things, improving education, making sure there's more accountability and transparency and trust with our police department as well are my main priorities.
Thank you. And what would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
I want to say thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Being engaged in the civic process is really important. Voting in any election and learning more about candidates is very important. And I thank you for taking the time for that. Shell, I thank you for taking the time to interview me. I would encourage anyone interested to check out our website, mgrfordistrict8.com, or the same on Instagram. I'm looking forward to continuing this campaign. I really believe that I am a really good candidate and maybe the best candidate to serve my community. I have the lived experience on what issues affect us, and I feel like I can correctly represent and uplift the voices of the people that I will hopefully represent one day. There are many people who believe in us. We have endorsements from former District 8 Alder Juliana Bennett, Max Prestigiacomo, Representative Francesca Hong, and others as well. So again, you can learn more at mgrfordistrict8.com. But otherwise, thank you for listening.
I want to thank MGR for speaking with us and the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. I want to remind everyone that primary election day is Tuesday, February 21st, and the general election is Tuesday, April 4th. As with every election, please vote. On behalf of Madison's City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, thank you for joining us.